Hello everybody, Phantom here. Today I thought I would talk about me and my friend's little adventure that we had at Theorosa Bridge on Sunday, September 3rd of 2023. Now, a lot happened Sunday night into Monday morning. My friend Toby from Toby's Tacos, or I'll have to go back and look. I'll say it in another part of the video. But anyway, he recorded for their channel, and I'm going to be showing some of the clips that he got because him and my friend John went wandering off in the wooded areas of Theorosa Bridge while the rest of us, one, didn't want to get ticks, two, were more concerned about the bridge itself as well as the cornfield that sat right off just a little bit past it. Now, to give you a little idea as to what exactly Theorosa Bridge is. So, Theorosa Bridge is located in Valley Center, Kansas. This town is also known for Crybaby Bridge, which we have not visited yet. Hopefully we will eventually, but so this says, on an old country road 3 miles north of the town on Meridian Street, this old bridge spans Jester Creek at the intersection with 109th Street. Several legends about this bridge's haunting are based on a baby drowned in the creek below. Today, the bridge is a simple concrete bridge that normally no one would pay any attention to, except for the legends. The first legend tells of settlers passing through an area in the late 19th century when Indians attacked them and a baby named Theorosa was kidnapped. Her grief-stricken mother was said to have left the wagon train in search for her missing daughter and reportedly continues to look today as her mournful cry can still be heard calling out for her children. In any event, the bridge has been reported to have been haunted for years and years. Many have reported seeing floating balls of light, eerie shapes, and the apparition of a woman in the area around the bridge. Cars are said to mysteriously stall as they cross, or should they stop, they will feel the entire vehicle begin to shake. Others report cold breezes seemingly coming from nowhere and the sounds of mournful voices or chilling cries of a baby. Yet others say that the weather is consistently different at the bridge than the rest of the area. Rumor has it that if you call out to Theorosa, telling her that you have her baby, she'll come out of the water and attack you. Now, some of this that I just listed as others have reported is true because we personally witnessed it ourselves. So, for the cars, I wasn't there when this happened, but some of my friends had gone Friday night, and one of the cars that was there, the hood was popped open when there was nobody else there, and then one of my other friends' cars kind of sputtered and stalled a little bit. And then as for the weather, it was a good, I want to say 80, 85 degrees outside that night. And when you're on the bridge, it's still pretty warm, but because of where it's located, like just over a river, even though the river was completely dry, it was still a little chillier than it was in the rest of the area. And then as we walked further down the road past the cornfield, the area just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And then as we walked back, the air seemed to cool off again the closer that we got to the bridge. Now, I'm going to show you some clips of how our night started off and then kind of going into what had happened, because in the beginning of the night we started around 10 o'clock and then we were there for a good, I want to say, hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe even 2.5 hours, just kind of exploring and trying to see what all we could find.
Gotta eat to live, that's still the eat for y'all about when I got the time.
Got a first GBC. Four-way stop sign.
the Hunters Beyond. We're with John. He's a new member. Meet John.
What's up?
I don't know if the others are going to be recording their view, but we're at Theorosa Bridge again, and we just passed the speaker.
Yep.
All right.
To give you guys a little insight into future stuff in this episode, we're thinking about doing a Ouija board.
What?
What? Let's get what? What do you need? Oh, come on, say what? What do you need?
Okay, come on, guys. John. Come on, John. Give me your hand. I'm following you up.
Back that ass up, I can feel it at least. Me and Serena for drums, like
That's what it sounds like right now.
under. Oh, that is drums.
I also hear dogs.
I was gonna say, you know, music, but drums aren't common.
Savannah, ask Angelina for her address right now. To hear it. This is a big plot of land. Yeah.
The closest house is at least 3/4 mile. Alright, guys. So basically what's going on is we're hearing music. I don't know if my phone mic is picking it up. We have another camera being recorded together when he gets them.
Hear stuff.
As you can see, the night started off super fun. We were all kind of hanging out, just vibing to some music while we were on our way there. There were two cars. There was the car I was in, going there, and then there was our other car which had the rest of our friends. Now, once we got there, we noticed this huge other group that was there, and we decided that we were going to try and stay away from them because, one, not a lot of paranormal stuff is going to happen if you're in a big group, and two, we knew a couple of those people who were in that group. We do not have good relationships with them, so we wanted to avoid them at all costs, which is good because they ended up going around antagonizing pretty much everywhere that they could go. And it really was just not a fun time. So yeah, and then as you see in one of the clips that I showed you guys, we did a homemade Ouija board. Now, I've used those before, I've made them, and they work fairly well so long as you have proper rules set for them, as well as if you're going to use a coin, you have to use a penny or a quarter. A penny is more especially for if you only have 2 people doing it. A quarter is good for 3 or 4 people, no more than that. And you have to make sure that you are applying enough pressure to not fall off when it moves, but not so much that it's very obvious that you're moving it. Because if you're pressing down, you would be the one moving it. But if you're only pressing down hard enough to keep your finger on it, you're not going to be moving it. And if it's moving, then something is trying to speak with you. Now, the next clip that I'm going to show you guys is one of Toby's. And it is when him and John had come back up after, you know, I had screamed like, hey, are you guys down there? Where are you? And eventually, after a few minutes, they came back up and they were explaining to us that they heard something well after it was done, or they heard something a little different than what we had said. Because they had come back up and they were talking about how they heard whistling, like just before they came up, and they heard like, John, Toby, hold on, which wasn't said. I was the one that said their names, and I was like, John, Toby, and then they responded, they were like, yeah, we're here. But they had heard that well before I had even said their names. So Toby had gotten a little footage of us having a conversation about that.
We saw people on that edge of the bridge, flashing lights coming down. Heard the whistle that you did, and then we heard them say, "Hold up."
I just whistled trying to be like,
yeah, and what his whistle is what we heard down. But
down
I wasn't whistling that earlier.
No,
But we heard that.
you might have, but
Now, a little while later, after cameras kind of died down because we were more focused on trying to like look around with like our flashlights and stuff, my friend had his phone out and he was recording a little bit while he was down back with a couple of our other friends, while we were walking down past like the cornfields and like the tree lines and stuff, just straight down an empty road in like almost pitch black darkness with only flashlights to light our way, and even that wasn't reaching as far as you would hope it would. So he caught the sound of a man screaming that sounded like it was right beside my friend's ear, which it wasn't, because none of us screamed. We were not about to scream at 12 o'clock at night in the middle of nowhere because we didn't know what was out there.
No. So down there, but
have you told the story about the thing that follows you?
I don't think so.
Would you like to, so they know what we're talking about?
Since I was little, paranormal stuff has always happened to me, and I guess since what my stepdad did to me, it's followed me around to protect me. It's never really harmed me, but it has 3 colors. It has like goat horns, and it's tall like a fucking tree. But white means something bad's going to happen. Gray means he thinks something's going to go down, but you're safe for now. And when he's black, he's just chilling. It means I'm safe. And he has 3 eye colors. Red is when he's mad, which means someone's hurt me. Yellow is when someone's irritating him. And when they're black, it's just, he's fine. But I haven't felt him since we turned on to 109th Street, which is where we're at on where Theorosa Bridge is. I haven't felt him, and I haven't felt Emma either. Although I don't have her ashes with me today.
And Ethan said that you saw him as gray today?
No, I haven't seen him.
Oh.
Haven't felt him since we turned on the street.
Ethan-
He usually protects me.
Ethan said earlier you saw a creature with a bell.
No, I didn't see a creature with a bell. I heard, I saw something in the cornfield when we pulled up, and Serena heard it.
Heard the bell.
And we didn't find this out until later when we had made a pit stop to kind of group together and figure out what we were gonna do. In the next clip that I'm gonna show you guys, my friend had recorded this. I don't remember if it was John or Toby. It was on John's phone, but I don't know who exactly was recording at this time. They were recording, and some of us had noticed that the blood moon wasn't exactly a blood moon anymore. As you can see throughout like the rest before it cuts off, that obviously none of us heard it, but the phone microphone picked it up.
Oh, that was back there.
it was them. That squeal was them.
Serena.
What?
Squeal was them. Who?
The blood moon's gone. It was like super rare looking. What?
It's kind of red, like the outer's red, but it's not fully red anymore.
Once the cameras officially all went away, we decided to walk past the cornfield, which was on our left, and walk straight down the road to see what all was there. Now, after the cornfield, there was a set of trees, and then you keep walking past that, and there on our left was an empty cornfield that looked like it had just been, you know, uprooted. Everything was collected. It was just flat dirt. And then off to our right, there was a field of like bushes. It wasn't corn or anything, not exactly sure what it was. All I know is I could describe it like bushes. But as we were walking, slowly our group kind of split off into 2. One group stayed back and was looking like into the bush field, while the rest of us kind of kept walking forward. The group who had stuck back by the bush field had hollered at us to go back to them, and that they thought that we should head back near the bridge and our cars and stuff. And so we did, and we started going, and then all of a sudden somebody in my group had heard a noise and started bolting back, so all of us started running. And then once we had gotten back to our group, we started kind of walking past them, and then they were still standing by that bush field, and I was like, yo, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, let's go back to the bridge and like our cars and stuff. And they were like, no, we saw something. And I was like, the fuck you mean you saw something? And so the people who were like holding up the flashlights and stuff into this field were like, we just saw like this tall black figure standing in like the bushes, like above them, because they're like not even waist height to me. It was standing well above the bushes and staring at them. And then whenever they put the flashlight on it, it stared at them and then disappeared. And then that happened every single time they did that. And then it started running off in the direction that we were going anyway, like back to the cars and the bridge. And then it had stopped in the tree line, because when it hits the tree line by the bridge, it starts going down into where the creek was. Finally, we made our way back to the bridge, and that's when we decided to do the Ouija board that we had made. And so I had my notes out. I'll put a screenshot like over here of the notes that I had taken of the questions we asked and then the answers that we got. Now, for one of them, we had gotten 2 different answers. So it was, I believe we asked, did you chase the other group away? And at first it answered 5. And then after we asked, what do you mean 5? It went to yes, signaling that they did indeed chase away that other group. And then 5, we weren't exactly sure what that meant until we looked back and kind of thought about it. There were 5 people in that group who were walking around and, you know, antagonizing whatever was there. And then eventually, once we got to our last question, half of us didn't even get to see the answer, because there was a very loud, very close sound of gunshots coming from the cornfield. Mind you, if there were gunshots, you would have seen some kind of like flash of light or like something in the bushes or it hitting something. There was none of that. And then as they were going off, all of us like jolted up and started bolting back to the cars. And once we got to a gas station in Valley Center, we kind of talked about what had happened. So there were 5 shots that came from the cornfield, and there were 5 people in that other group. There were 4 people who were wearing, let me grab it. Oh, something fell. So this is a ring of a friend of ours who had passed away in a tragic accident about a year and a half ago, I want to say back in March. 4 of us were wearing this, and when we got there, our last question that we asked was, are there any shadow people who were there? Because that's what our friends think they saw. And the people who were doing the board, who actually looked at it, saw the answer, and the answer was 4. There were 4 of us wearing the rings. Now, once we decided on our game plan to kind of figure out what we were gonna do, things started getting a little worse, because as we were driving, me and my friend Hannah, we can sense when an evil being is nearby. We've been very connected with the spiritual world since we were little, and me and her were both freaking out because there were more than just 4 of those things following us around, and most of the other people could only see 2 of them. So eventually we decided to meet in the parking lot of a Walmart down in Derby, and once we got there, we thought we'd be safe because there's a lot of light around. They don't like coming out in light because, you know, then they'll be seen, you know, stuff like that. Well, part of our group had to, one, go take somebody home, and two, had to go do some stuff at their place. While me, Hannah, and Colby were there were a lot of sounds that were like coming at us that aren't normal sounds to hear at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So birds are not out and awake at 1, 2 in the morning. So the sounds that we heard, it was one singular bird also, not like a whole, you know, group of them like you'll normally hear during the day. It was one single sound, one single bird's whistle that came from one part of the Walmart. And then a little while later, it came from the complete other side of the Walmart. And if we looked into the garden center, there was a figure sitting on top of like the wooden boards and the tarps, and it was just constantly staring at us, waiting for us to go like look around and get out of light. While we were there, we decided to sit in the car because it wouldn't be able to get into the car. So we sat in the car with the doors locked and the window just a little bit cracked so we could still hear. And about 20 minutes later, the chirping started getting a lot louder and a lot more consistent, which meant that it was getting angry because we weren't getting out of the car, going and looking around to try to figure out what this thing was, where it was, and it just kept getting closer and closer and closer to the car, and it kept getting faster and more consistent. Like, there'd be a noise, there'd be 2 minutes of silence, and then there'd be another one. And then there were so many different figures standing all around the Walmart. Like, there was one in the garden center, there was one on the complete other side of the Walmart hiding behind a corner, there was one on top of the roof of the Walmart staring at us from completely across the parking lot. It got to the point where there was something outside my door, and with the light that was shining from the flashlight, there was something, an orb, like a giant orb that was going around and around and around, like from the bottom of the window around and then invisible again, and then continuing to do that. It was at that point that all of us realized we were in a very long, dangerous game of hide and seek, and we were very clearly losing. Now, eventually, we came up with a plan to go downtown where there's a lot of lights and sit in one spot for 15 minutes and then drive around, look for a new spot, sit there for 15 minutes, and then consistently do that once it hit 3 o'clock in the morning. From 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we could not leave the car. We didn't want to have the windows down too much. We had to communicate by being in a call, so that way we wouldn't draw the attention of anything around us. Now, I want to say it was about 4 something when all of us really started getting tired. Hannah had fallen asleep at like 3:30. She was out. Like 3:30, 4 o'clock. She was out. She was gone. Eventually, we pretty much just started driving rather than finding a spot to sit. And at that point, we decided that we were going to drive around and have fun. Try to get our mind off of what was going on so that way we could stay awake and let time pass on its own without us constantly worrying about having to move, what time it is, and just let it get to 6 on its own. And I am going to show those. There's not very much, and there's going to be a lot of filters because I recorded this on Snapchat. But it's us sounding like we are high but we hadn't taken any drugs, we weren't drunk or anything, we were literally just sleep deprived to all hell. And I will say it's a very light-hearted take on this very terrifying experience that we had throughout the entire night. So I'm gonna go show those clips here.
McDonald's, Burger King, it smack. Well, I'm a fuck. Your mother once or twice is a shame. So I fucked her 1, 2, 3 times. I'm out at this whore's home game.
Ethan's probably looking at
They
us.
don't care if your shit gets stolen. Why would they?
Hello everybody, it is currently 5:23 in the morning and all of us are sleep deprived.
Yeah!
But do we care? No.
No. We are having fun.
We are having fun.
Where the fuck are we going?
Again.
Come here, boy! Come here, boy! Come here, boy! I got a present for you. Okay, I'm starting to get this.
We made it, guys!
Somehow.
We did it!
Somehow survived the night.
And Hannah's passed out in the
One
car.
of our peoples is in the car, sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is another McDonald's.
Alright everyone, I genuinely hope you guys enjoyed this creepy tale slash fun ending to a very terrorizing, terrifying story. I don't know how to really end this video. So if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. If you would like to put in your own story for me to read off while I do makeup or something for me to research and tell you guys about, by all means, please feel free. I will put my Instagram right here and you are more than welcome to message me with your story or a place you would like me to do some research on and tell you guys about. But yeah, bye.